Good evening, everyone. This is Anthony Navarro, the head trainer here at the WP Dojo, and I want to welcome everyone onto the call, onto the webinar here. And today's webinar is going to be one of the opening salvos in our Black Belt training series. Black Belts being those who want to become full-blown web developers, web designers, web gurus, people who want to use your skills to pay the bills, people who want to do websites for a living, whether part-time or as a hobby, or full-time as an income. So being that this is the intro course, this is going to be a large overview. Number one, to instill confidence that anyone indeed can be a web designer if they put their mind to it. And a couple procedures just talking about what is the nature of the business of being a web designer. So we do have the chat room open. And if anyone has a question, you can go ahead and post a question in there. And I'm just going to, let me just take a quick look back at the presentation here and make sure we're not missing anybody. And we'll get started. All right. So one wonders, kind of like the old Apollo 13, do you have the right stuff to be a web designer? And it is not rocket surgery or rocket science or brain surgery. It's not rocket surgery. WordPress is a fairly simple system once you know how to use it. It's one of those things where, if you never were exposed to something like web design, you wouldn't even think about approaching it. It's kind of like I had some work done on my house the other day. I actually had a little piece of Harda-plank that was rotten. And so I had a friend come over and he's a handyman. And, I'm like, I'm not going to touch this stuff. I'm going to hire the expert. And it took him all day long. We actually ripped almost the entire side of the house down. And, now I'm like, if I see a piece of rotten plywood or a piece of rotten Harda-plank, I can take care of it now. It's not rocket surgery. And WordPress is like that. It's one of those things where if you see it and understand it, it's fairly easy to do, but it's not common knowledge. It's just a matter of having a certain set of knowledge. And on the WordPress Dojo, that's really what we do, is we have a whole collection of nuggets of knowledge, anywhere from a little 5-minute blip on how to do something really quick and dirty, all the way to a 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour presentation on certain topics to help people get their job done. So for instance, how to install WordPress from A to Z. That's something that's not common knowledge. How to set up an SQL database, how to FTP files, how to, all the little things that go into making a WordPress website work. It's not rocket surgery, but no one commonly knows how to do it. So when you have a certain set of skills, you can easily market those skills. Just like my friend markets his handyman skills, now I have those skills and I can do that thing, but it's not what I'm going to do for a living. So it's just one of those things. Have the confidence to understand anyone can learn how to install WordPress, which gives most people a leg up on the competition, basically our clients. One of the inherent things of having the right stuff is a love to learn. Doing web design is something where you will learn all the time. You will never say, I got it all down, because the next hack comes out, or the next patch comes out, or the next feature comes out. And it's not one of those things where, they just make this stuff work and get it over with. You have to love to learn, because you will never stop learning. The other thing about having the right stuff is, on that note, is not being afraid to ask for help. WordPress is a community piece of software. It's open source software. And likewise, the open source community is one where everyone's at a different level. Hence the WordPress Dojo. We have teachers and we have students, and students can very well teach. Everyone is superior to everyone else in one particular aspect in their professional life, their personal life, and also in their WordPress development skills in this example. So if you want to become a web developer, you'll find a whole community of people with all different levels of experience, and you'll have something to contribute and they'll have something to contribute. I was at a WordPress meetup in Raleigh, and there was a gentleman there, and he knew all about this particular thing that I had just inquired about. It'd be nice to know about this. He gave me 3 hyperlinks, three websites to take a look at. And likewise, he had another question. And I said, hey, I do that all the time, or this is what I do. So the community is one where, as long as we, ask questions with humility and find the right people, don't be afraid to ask for help. Because if you don't, that's one of those things where there's no such thing as a dumb question. The dumb thing is not to ask the question, because then you're just going to sit there and not know the answer. And the answer is out there. It's almost like that X-Files phrase, the truth is out there. There's always an answer out there and someone willing to answer it. And again, that's the goal of the WordPress Dojo, to have a community of people to ask questions and give answers. Another thing about having the right stuff is you do have to play well with others. If you're going to be building websites, you're going to be building websites for people. And people come in all types of shapes and flavors and personalities. And some clients I love, and some clients I love to get paid by them because they are just who they are. So having the right stuff in web design is making sure that you have the personal skills to deal with clients of all different personalities. You do have the freedom, unlike other jobs, to choose who you work for. If you decide that this person is just not for me, I don't like their attitude or their personality, or that you think they're a little shady, you don't have to work for them or with them. So that's one of the freedoms of having your own business, and especially in the world of web design. And then finally is being responsible and professional. There are going to be things you need to do on a regular basis. There are certain practices and procedures you need to follow, codes of ethics, and telling people, I'm going to build you a website, and you do, and it will have these features, and they do, and you're going to get that money and provide them a service. Being responsible, being professional, being on time, having just good ethics and honesty. And just like anything, something might fall through the cracks. You might miss a deadline. You might blow a project. If you're honest and professional about it, clients are very forgiving. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to die, they're going to sue me, all this other stuff. Be a professional, be honest and open, and people will love the fact that you're serving them because they want our service. Web design and website service is a service that I am just stunned every day how people are so grateful for my willing to help them do what they can't do. I have a soccer club on the West Coast, and these guys just love playing soccer. Didn't have anything to do with their website. They just said, we need a website with registration and teach us how to do it. I made it, and they are just, every time I talk to them, hey, how's it going? Oh, you don't believe such and such. And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at your sales stats, and you guys are rocking. They love having people build websites and service websites and provide these services for them. So as long as you're professional and responsible, you keep your word. Your word is your bond. That's really the number one thing to help you in your business. So if you start at zero, there are people who really start at zero. So I want to learn how to be a web designer. You don't have to know everything. There's a nice grace period, or basically a buffer, when you decide, I want to become a web developer. How proficient do you want to be? Do you want to be a programmer? Do you want to make plugins? Do you want to do custom code? Or do you want to utilize, as I have, the tools available to the WordPress community and say, man, a lot of people way smarter than me have done some amazing things with WordPress, with themes, with plugins, and I'm just going to use all those tools and I'm going to make websites. I'm not going to be a programmer. I just want to build websites. So you look at your proficiency and you're kind of like your bent. Do you like doing tinkering? Do you like, graphics? Do you like playing with graphical software? Do you like seeing how things fit together? Do you like money and seeing how, you can get a shopping cart system to work? And once you choose your proficiency, you're going to say, I don't need to learn all this stuff. You might just learn a subset of stuff. Don't feel you have to do it all and, oh my goodness, there's so much to learn. The basic skills are not that difficult to enter the web design world. The question is, as you start seeing how you enjoy building certain types of websites, what's your bent going to be? My story, for example, was, I got started in the church and missionary field. I built websites for churches and independent businesses and missionaries, kind of small business type of things. And then as my business grew, people in these churches, business people, knew about my skill set, discovered my skill set, and I eventually started doing business websites. And I got about a 50-50 percentage right now between businesses and not-for-profits. And these businesses wanted e-commerce. So my specialty is base web design. I'm not a graphic artist, but I do what I call blue-collar Photoshop. And last week's presentation on images, which I did, which is now available on the WordPress Dojo, shows how I do some pretty cool graphics, but I'm not a graphic artist. So my focus is on basic web design and e-commerce. That's kind of where, I found my thing. And I do like SEO and marketing, but the thing there, why I labeled that in red, is that I know a guy who is not that thrilled about building websites, but he loves building relationships. So I actually have this partnership. I call it co-opetition because we're both web designers by trade, but I love the building and maintaining and fixing or enhancing of the website itself, and he loves driving traffic to those websites. So you find your proficiency. You can build a website. You don't need a huge skill set, but you say, I love helping people draw traffic. I love people like Hootsuite, as I mentioned earlier, I think before the call. You can say, I want to be the SEO or the marketing expert and help this person drive traffic and drive sales and do all this other stuff. So there's a big field of all different things you can do in the field of web design, but you don't want to do it all because it's going to be like a jack of all trades but a master of none. Choose one or two areas that you just say, this is easy. I love doing this. I could do this over and over and over. And that's how you decide where in the web design world you're going to find your niche. So my example, I'll just use a personal example, is I call myself a brick builder. I'm not a mason guy. I don't know how bricks are made out of straw or clay or anything like that. I don't know cement technology, mortar technology, and the physics that go into that. But you know what? If you give me bricks and mortar, I can build a house. I can build an amazing patio. I can build, a nice terraced structure of some kind or another. But I use bricks as raw materials. So if you look at the way I set up this picture, is WordPress is the foundational brick on the bottom, and then I just add bricks on top of it. I use Builder as my theme engine. I use Gravity Forms as my forms engine. I use Shop as my e-commerce engine, and Wishlist off to the side that controls all of that for a membership system. So I find the bricks, the tools to build something, but I'm not a coder. I'm not a graphic artist. I'm not going to do all that underlying stuff, and that's my bent. I can churn websites out daily with this particular skill set. I don't want to spend days and years and months learning SEO or learning the marketing or getting into someone's actual business. I can pass it off to others. It's that co-opetition. It's that a cooperative effort among other web designers that we find these great partnerships, and we all have a win-win. So for me, this is my proficiency. Your proficiency might be different. So exactly. Now, just as a note, all these plugins are premium plugins, but you can do the very same thing with a group of free plugins. Instead of using Shop, you can use WP e-commerce at getshop.org. Instead of Wishlist, you can use S2 Member. Instead of Gravity Forms, you can use Contact Form 7. And instead of getting a custom theme from a custom theme company, you can get all the free themes out of the WordPress repository. So you can shake it and bake it. Use any type of thing you like, find the thing you like, become an expert in it. And again, find 2 or 3 things that you find you love to do. You love making membership websites, or you love making photo websites, or you love making e-commerce websites and shopping carts, and you're golden because now you have a particular skill set for a particular set of clients that you can just fly with. So, how good are you? Why would someone hire you as a web designer? You don't actually have to be that great to be a web designer. People think, oh, well, I've got to be building websites for a year and I've got to get all these things under my belt and get all this practice. Yes, you do need to have a certain proficiency in WordPress, but just as in any business, whether it's brick building a patio, or doing some cleaning windows or taking out the garbage. If you have a maid service or a cleaning service in your office and it doesn't work out because they're not cleaning it well, you hire someone else that's just a little bit better than that other person. So you just need to be better than the last guy. And you do not have to be a wizard or a grandmaster to become a WordPress developer. You don't need a certification. You don't need to go to school. You don't need to work for 3 years and then have an apprenticeship and then spend $6,000 and then another 4 years of apprenticeship and another $20,000 over the course of 6 years. You know who has to do that? Hairdressers. Hairdressers have to go through crazy amount of and my mom used to cut hair in the backyard with all my neighbors. She'd be cutting the 4 of us kids, her kids' hair, and the neighbors be walking, hey, Roseanne's cutting hair, and the whole neighborhood comes in. She didn't have a license, but she had a talent, and that's like us. We don't need a license, we don't need certifications, we don't need all this stuff. We can get started right away, just like a hair cutter. Well, in the old days, at least cutting hair, or kids on the side of the road selling lemonade. They don't need a license. Well, depending on the municipality you live in, maybe you do. But website design is really free. If you have talent, people are willing to pay for that talent. And people, again, don't need JavaScript and Flash and PHP coding. They want a website that works. A lot of people are stuck with websites that either A, look really pretty, but they can't update them, so they're out of date, or they look really horrible and they're out of date. So it's a lose-lose. And all what the people want too, they want their websites just to work. And WordPress can do that. You can do that. Just install WordPress, copy their data over. They'll have a website that functions. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, that's all people want. So the demand is out there. And people want support and attention. This is just a human factor. They want the love. They want to know people care. They want to know people are going to help them. Helping people or being a help to a person is an amazing feeling on the back end where they're not feeling dependent. They're feeling grateful. So the aspect of am I good enough to become a web designer is people are going to flock to you if you say you are a web designer and they can get some help because they need help and they don't know where to go to and they're feeling desperate. They just need someone who can listen to their needs, meet their needs, and give them something that works. So even the simple act of migrating a website to WordPress can change your client's life. And I can't tell you how many customers I've gotten that had just out-of-date websites, bad links, out-of-date data. I mean, business hours, telephone numbers, addresses that are wrong. And this is your website and your phone number's wrong and your address is wrong. It's like, come on. So these people that are out there by the droves, they just have bad websites. Don't even think about it. And I wanted to show you a couple examples. Again, as I mentioned, I come from a background where I've done a lot of church websites, and I specifically scratched these names out to protect the guilty or to not embarrass the person who owns this website. But this church, look at their homepage. It's an HTML file, and it hasn't been updated in I don't know how long. It's just, that's their church website. Hey, we're over here, and come and see us. And if you read it, that is awful. If all you do is convert this to WordPress and put a menu on the top, they would be blown out of the water. So that's a church. I looked in my neighborhood. Okay, what businesses in my neighborhood could use a facelift? I did a search for karate schools. So let's take a look at karate schools. The Japan Karate Association Shokotan of Charlotte. Again, since Jill is a brown belt in Taekwondo, something very near and dear to us right here and whatnot. This is a snapshot of the website. But if you click on About Sensei, coming soon. Services, coming soon. Benefits, coming soon. What do they have? The title. Oh, I can't give you the information here. Please call us for available days. What? I want the information here. And oh, here's an address and a phone number and an email so I can send this guy an email and say, your website stinks. But everything here is coming soon. Yeah, we'll take your money, but we're not going to give you anything. And even tell us about your teacher, about Sensei. Come on. And you know what? Powered by Yellow Pages. The Yellow Pages is a gold mine for websites that are incomplete or non-existent. People have a website just like this. Yeah, okay, Yellow Pages, you have a website. Here's a flurry of people who can provide this association a service. Along the lines of karate school again, let's take a look at another one. The Mangan Martial Arts Academy. Big button, children's information and adults information. And then behind that is just a page of text. Awful. And the only link they have is schedule? Well, where's your directions? Where are you? Who runs the place? How much does it cost? What are your hours of operation? And look, it was done in, 6 of 09, 9, 10, 11. This is 3 years old, and they've been living with this website for 3 years. All right, so I got out of karate schools. I said, well, let me look at the neighborhood ice cream shops. Now, this is the Soda Shop, a historic place here in downtown Davidson, and it's not a bad-looking website. It's not unattractive, but it's HTML. So you know that these Soda Shop guys are not updating their website. I hope their menus are still the same because breakfast, lunch, and dinner and all that are just never going to get updated by the people who own the Soda Shop. It's impossible. So here's a way you can easily convert an HTML website to a WordPress website. And what else can you offer them? Hey, you know what? I'll convert your website and tell you what, we can get the email addresses of all your customers so you can do specials. We can get your Facebook link on it. They'll eat that up because now they don't even have that functionality on their website. So again, the market is crazy. Tattoo parlors. I was just passing by a tattoo parlor today on my way to the Mac store up in Davidson, and I thought, oh, let me just look up tattoo parlor. This is a guy's tattoo site, epictattooshop.com. Well, his website is anything but epic, and if his tattoos are anything like his website, I don't want to go near this guy. He's got a big yellow thing with a big purple thing, and then, a Facebook and a Twitter up thing. This is awful. Again, not criticizing the people that made these things. People had the skill set they had probably when this thing was created. But the wealth of potential clients is out there for anybody to capitalize on, and there's going to be no shortage of work. Because what happens too is as your skill set grows, you'll be able to take on larger projects that today you can't. So these are the sites that the people who are right at the beginning of their WordPress career, this is where they're going to get started. All right, mastering our skills. We don't become a WordPress developer overnight. This is something that happens gradually, just like anything else. So you do your first thing, you learn something. Then you do your second thing, you take the knowledge that you learned from the first thing and you build on that. So WordPress is the foundation, again, of all that we do. So you start with WordPress. You get to know WordPress. You get to know the menu system. You get to know how widgets and plugins work. You get to know in a particular theme, how to change your headers, how to customize the widgets, maybe play with a little CSS. WordPress is the foundation. How to install WordPress in under 5 minutes over and over and over and over again. Become an expert at WordPress. Know it like the back of your hand. Repetition is the mother of skill, and you choose a niche and you get great at it, because what happens is you're going to learn the certain tools particular to that niche, and you'll just throw them together one after the other and become a website making machine. So my example, as for my personal career, was starting off with churches and missionaries. What do churches need? Podcasts and calendars. They need people to know when they're doing things, and they want people to hear their sermons. So I looked at all the podcasting plugins. I found out the worst of them. I found out the best of them, and found the couple that work really well under certain situations. And depending on the type of application I need, that's the type of plugin I use. And I know podcasting plugins like the back of my hand. If I was to get into photography and find personal photographers who need photography websites, I'd be going nuts about photo galleries, all the different ways to present photos on a website. So you choose your niche and get really good at it, and you can, in essence, capitalize and be the go-to person for that niche. Oh, you need a tattoo website? This is the person to go to. You're a missionary? You need a website? This is the person to go to. You have an ice cream shop? Imagine being the world's renowned ice cream parlor website person. That'd be pretty cool for all the ice cream shops around the country. So you'll learn about the most popular plugins in your niche, and you just choose that. And that's your tool belt. That's like your Batman utility belt. And that's how you build websites. And by doing that over and over, you become a website making machine where you can pump out a website a week in your part time. And if you charge $500, $600, $1,000, that's $500, $600, or $1,000 a week you could be making churning these websites out. You find something simple, something repeatable, something in demand. You're not going to find probably your mom and pop shop who hollow out gourds and make birdhouses. They're not going to pay a lot of money for a website. Trust me, I have experience in this. But if you find a niche that's profitable, tattoo parlors, churches, other types of niches like that, photographers, they'll pay for it. You can churn these things out and make a money machine. So speaking of money, funding your web development career. A great philosophy, especially if you're starting from scratch, and the reason you're looking to build a career is because you need extra money. It's not just that you're looking to change careers out of pleasure's sake, is you use other people's money. And the way that works, and this is how they do it in real estate, you never buy a house with your own money. You buy it with other people's money. And what you do, the philosophy behind web design and OPM, other people's money, it's not opium the drug, although you do this enough times, you're going to feel high because, whoa, the world's doing great. Use other people's money to help buy the skills or buy the tools or buy the training or buy the materials you need for each one of your projects. You never spend money right out of your own pocket, because every project is going to self-fund and help you come out ahead. And the general philosophy behind that is, even if you pay for premium plugins, premium themes, premium services, it's going to be a low figure compared to what you're going to charge for a website. But in the beginning of your career, you may not be able to charge a whole lot for your website. You might need to get 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 websites under your belt before people say, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. This person knows what they're doing. And they can charge the premium prices for premium websites. And you always want to put a bit aside for taxes. You don't want to get stuck at the end of the year and find out that you owe Uncle Sam money, then you're going to get all these fees and all that other stuff. So don't underestimate taxes. This particular course, we're not going to go into taxes. We will talk about finances in one of our later courses. So just want to keep that in mind. On that note, just say, when you start looking at your niche and you look at all the different products you want to get into, you create a shopping list. And you say, okay, I need a web hosting service like HostGator. and I want to buy a professional theme. So I'll either look at buying Builder or another theme framework, and I just need something that I'm going to rest my business on and find a good theme that I can just churn websites out with. You might want a quality group of plugins. So rather than just getting the free plugins out of the WordPress repository, you might want to buy the iThemes Plugin Developer Suite or sign up to wpmudev.org, another great website for finding premium plugins. You might want to buy a membership module or a really great form. Gravity Forms is an incredible forms system for WordPress. You might want to then upgrade to WordPress dedicated hosting so you don't have to worry about backups and all that. Find a company that will definitely back your website up and keep the caches running and all that other stuff. WP Engine is a great example. On another one of our webinars, our security webinar, we talk about WordPress dedicated hosting. You might at some point, when you start having clients you're billing monthly, quarterly, or annually, get some billing software. On the Mac, there's a great product called Billings, which also has an iPhone application. There's business cards you might want to get, so when you go to networking events, and of course memberships to other communities such as the WordPress Dojo. You want other people to pay for all these things. And just as an example, let's take a look at, say you're going to start your career from zero. Again, I'm the web designer getting myself started. Let's say from zero, you want to get a hosting plan. You don't have a host to put your websites on. So you want to get started with HostGator. You need $94. So tell you what, I'm going to find the little ice cream shop, or I'm going to find the little tattoo parlor. I'm going to find the florist. I'm going to charge them $175. Who wouldn't pay $175 to get a quality website built on WordPress by someone who knows what they're doing and will provide them support? And then on top of that, you will be charging them a monthly hosting fee. The privilege of hosting the website and making sure it's backed up, you sell this as a service. So they get a low ball price, and they also get a monthly service which pays for your WordPress Dojo membership or something else you'd like to buy. So now with this original $175 from this first customer, you can now host unlimited websites because you've bought your hosting plan. And you can print some sweet business cards. Go to your local printer or go to moocards.com or any one of those great places and get a quality business card. So now you can hand people your business card when you want to build websites. So client number 2 comes along. You find that soda shop. You find the ice cream parlor again. You find a karate place. And you say, okay, I want to buy Builder or the Plugin Developer Suite or get a membership to WPMU Dev. So you charge them appropriately. So now you can create unlimited website layouts. And now you're making $50 a month or $600 a year in hosting fees. Your third client, charge them a paltry $325. Who wouldn't pay $325 for a website? But now you have a suite of plugins which can functionally have you design almost any website out there, from images to video to downloads to all sorts of really neat things and backups. And now, if you've got the Plugin Developer Suite, say from iThemes, which has Backup Buddy, which we talked about on our security seminar again, you can now add an additional premium service to your clients, charging for automated backups, or you can deliver a backup on a CD for an additional fee. So you can at least make $75 a month on 3 websites or more if you then start charging for premium services, which we'll get into in our financial module of this course. So again, it keeps on going and going. And when you get a dozen websites under your belt, there's nothing that's going to stop you. You can command almost any price you want to based on your skill set, based on what other people are charging for. And I admit, being in the church market, I undercharge. And I've gotten much better about that with my corporate clients. But you really can see what the market bears. And if you can pump out a website a week, a website every month even, you can start getting a really good reputation and people start coming to you. After getting this initial blowout of websites just to get your tool set and build your arsenal, your Batman utility belt of web design tools, people will start coming to you. And that's actually the case for me. I've actually had to turn business down. I got 2 people. I didn't even call these people yet. I need to call them. They emailed me over the weekend. This is Labor Day weekend. And I had 2 people, one in the same industry as a site. It's a niche market industry. And they saw I did this website. They want me to do their website as well. And another church. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to turn these guys down. That's a wonderful problem to have. And as long as you stay busy and people know what you're doing in that niche, your name gets around. So it becomes really easy to take advantage of the reputation that goes around. I'll give you an example too, not bragging, but just as an example, I said I started my career in churches, and I started then doing agencies for our church. So I did the website for our church planting arm, and then I did a website for, another one of our agencies. And what happened is, this is 3 years into my website building career, I did the website for our entire denomination. They recognized me as the expert that does church websites and corporate style websites with their agencies, and they asked me to do the entire denomination's web presence. Pretty impressive. So you build your reputation, people then come to you and start looking for you. You don't have to find them, they start looking for you. All right, so setting your rate. How do you charge for a website? Once you start commanding this, you say, all right, I got these under my belt. You've proven your mettle. You've built up your skill set. After building these over and over and over, you're now an expert. You can throw a website together. How do you set your rate? First thing you want to ask is, how much money do I want to make every year? So you want to consider your desired annual salary. So how much money do you want to make? Then you need to consider, how many hours per week am I going to put into this? So is this going to be a part-time business where I'm working 15 hours a week, or I've lost my job, or I'm done with this, I got to just totally burn my bridges and move on to a different career. I'm putting 40, 60 hours a week into this. And then you need to consider, based on your skill set, how many sites per month can you build? So are you going to do quick and dirty websites like the ice cream parlor, or are you going to build complex websites? So you'll do fewer complex websites, but you'll charge more for them, obviously. Or you'll do lots and lots and lots of quick and dirty websites and start building up your hosting fee account. So with that, you can start calculating the price per website, per basic website that you would do. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say you said, I want to earn $60,000 a year building websites. Now, for some, this might seem a number a little beyond our reach, but it's not. And we're going to go through the math here and show you why. Number one is, you're not taking home $60,000 because, again, remember, we want to talk about taxes and not get in the trouble there. So your take home is really going to be about 30. So $60,000 a year is a little lowball when you think of what you want to bring home. All right, so now say you're starting your career. You work a day job, you already have a job, but you're only going to put 20 hours a week into this. And some of it's going to be marketing, trying to develop some clients, and others will be building. So they're not all productive hours. Some of it is trying to drum up that initial set of business. But then say you figure with 80 hours a month, you can build 5 sites. It takes you 16 hours to build a website. You install WordPress, you do all this rigmarole. So you can pump out 5 sites a month. So if I'm doing 5 sites a month and I want to make $60,000 a year, that's 60 sites a year and $1,000 a site. So, and on top of that, you're making another $1,500 a month in hosting. So if you're building 5 sites a month at $1,000 a site, that's $5,000 a month plus your $1,500, and it grows every month thereafter. Now, not every site at this point would be $1,000. You might, again, do a not-for-profit or a mom-and-pop shop, a little ice cream store, maybe charge $750, $500, something like that. But then you get a corporation that needs an e-commerce website. That might be a $3,500 website. So the question is, how many websites do you have to do to make a certain amount of salary per year? The other aspect of that is, how do you then charge for your site? Am I going to charge a flat rate? Do I charge by the hour? Do I charge by the project? With websites, you want to charge by the project, because if you're going to do a website that is static, it's got your about page, your directions page, your map, your phone number, contact info, and this is what we do, that's pretty simple. You can knock that out in a couple hours and collect the check very quickly. If you've got a site that is going to then have an e-commerce, you have a shopping cart, you need to get pricing, you need to get tax rates, you need to set that up. An e-commerce website, in my case, I charge 2 to 2.5 times the charge of the regular website. So if a website's going to be a $1,500 website, that same website with a shopping cart might cost $3,000, $3,800. So you charge by the project based on the amount of work you need to do. Now, you don't charge by the number of hours you're putting into it necessarily, but by the function, because function has value. You might actually have a function that's very easy to implement, but it's a high demand function, so you can charge more for it. Just like in manufacturing or going shopping, demand influences price, so does the same thing with websites. So you're going to determine your website's price or the project price based on features. So you might actually say, okay, a base site costs X amount of dollars. And then I'm also going to tag on a certain amount of annual hosting, charging $25 a month, $35 a month, $10 a month, whatever that is. And then you look at your features. So, okay, your website has a membership system. So you charge an extra 50% of the site. And it has an e-commerce. You're going to charge double the price of the site. Oh, and you want to do podcasting. So we'll just add $100 onto the site to set up your iTunes feed. So you basically can create a la carte kind of schedule. And I've actually got this on an iPad application, a application that works like an invoicing system. So I sit down with a client and I'll say, okay, base site, domain name, annual hosting fee. What else do you want? And just like a cash register, I go dink, 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 and add it all up. And they see the price and they say, can we knock some price off of it? Okay, well, let's take podcasting out. You can't. Well, I need podcasting. Take out the photo gallery. Okay, so you dicker with the price in that manner, but you command the price you need based on the number of features that are in that website and provide, again, a professional demeanor and a positive experience where they know they're going to depend on you. And again, these clients will be happy to pay you for a service that is going to benefit their business. Now, once in a while, you will find a client that is not exactly that way. And usually it happens in the middle of the relationship or towards the end of the project where you've built the website, but now they become a high maintenance client. And there comes a time where you might actually have to come to the point where you can fire a client. You can say, you know what, I built this website and this is great, but you know what, you're calling me for every little technical thing. I'm your webmaster. I'm not your Windows debugger. I'm not your network guru. I'm not your Carbonite fixer-upper guy. And you know what, it's okay to let a client go. There is, again, the web development business, like any entrepreneurial venture, is a lifestyle. And if I'm going to develop websites as a lifestyle, I want to enjoy my lifestyle. So I don't want to walk into my home office with my cat, with the music playing and my little water fountain going, life is good, and say, I've got to call this guy. It's okay to let clients go. You built them a website, you did a great service, pass them on to somebody. In fact, with the WordPress Dojo, one of my goals is to have a job board, and we can pass. Now, I don't want to pass any bad clients on the people, but if we have an overflow of clients, it'd be great to open it up to the Dojo community and let these people see our members' portfolios and say, here's all the people who've learned how to build websites at the WordPress Dojo. Choose which person you want to build your website. So it's okay to say, you know what, I don't need this client. It's out of my league, so you pass it on. Or vice versa. This client's too small. I'm at the point where I don't charge less than $3,500 for a website anymore. So you pass it on. It's okay to let clients go. And you love them, but you leave them. You don't want to be unprofessional. And some of the most amazing things happen when you're professional to an unprofessional, and other people see that, and again, they gravitate towards you, saying, wow, this guy, I knew this person was his client, and da-da-da, and I know that guy. This is a quality guy because he treated that guy professionally and so on. Just treat your business like a business and be professional. And if you're in over your head, be honest. They'll appreciate you for it. For instance, I had a client early on, my first e-commerce website. And it was my first e-commerce website, and I was like, oh, this is not working. I can't get the products to sort right. They want certain products to be on the top and da-da-da-da-da. And once they knew that I was struggling with this thing, they're like, oh, okay, definitely. You know what can we do to help? They were incredibly gracious. So never feel that you have to be the expert or put on airs or think that you can do certain things that you can't. Again, if you don't want to even play with e-commerce, because again, it's a different animal, pass that client along. Be honest with the client. Say, you know what, I'd love to build your website, but tell you what, I have to outsource the e-commerce component. So that's going to cost you even extra. So you can find someone and say, how much will it cost you to build an e-commerce module on the website that I'm building for this customer? And they'll tell you. So you just tack it on. So you might charge $2,500 for the website. This person might charge you $1,200 to do the e-commerce portion for you. Make sure it all works great and dandy, and they work with the client and making sure it all works. And then you charge like a $200 finder fee. So your project, and the customer only sees you. So they're really appreciative of that. Same thing goes with graphics. For me, I'm not the graphic artist. I don't want to be a graphic artist, so I'll outsource someone making a custom logo, a custom graphic, a custom header, and all that stuff. So customers love it when you're honest and you tell them what you do, what you don't do, and what they might have to do on their own, or what they might have to consider an extra cost if it's not within your skill set. But if you're the go-to guy, again, you don't have to be the do-it-all person. You have to be the go-to person. And these clients will appreciate you for all of your honesty and your ability to pool all these resources together to, again, complete the website they want to get completed. All right. So the next thing is branding or company ID. If you're getting started in web design, you're an individual. So the question is, do I pretend to be a company? Or not so much pretend, but do I start a company? Do I get an LLC? Do I get a DBA? Do I incorporate? What do I do? Or do I just be me? Now, the website on the left is a woman named Lisa Sabin Wilson. She has written the book called WordPress for Dummies. Yes, it's the yellow series and all that. Wonderful lady. I've met her at WordCamps around the country, and she's just an incredible person. I know her from online trainings at iThemes. She attends and works with the iThemes crew. Again, I highly recommend iThemes. She markets herself as the individual. I'm Lisa Sabin Wilson, so I've written this book. I'm the author. She decided to market herself as a personal brand. Other people, and the website on the right is the one that I use. This is my TNT Development Systems. That's how I had even back when I was doing consulting. For some reason, well, there is a reason, but I won't tell you, where I came up with the name TNT Development Systems. And so it's just a name that stuck. And it's not like TNT like dynamite. There's a capital T and a lower T. So I'm marketing myself as a company, but it's a one-man company. I've never incorporated. I've never started an LLC. I'm a one-man band, but I have a DBA so I can get checks to TNT Development Systems. So what you would do, you go to the county clerk and you set up a name. You just have to go through all these piles of books and make sure no one else owns that name. And so if you're going to be Starlight Web Design, you just need to make sure that there's no one in your county with that same name, or, expand out from there. So that's really a personal decision. You don't have to do one or the other. No model really works better than the other. That's just a personal decision. There's a few things you want to do for being in business, again, that adds a level of professionalism. If you get a DBA and a company name, people can write checks to you as a company. So I get checks to TNT Development Systems, deposited in my bank. Sometimes I get a check to Anthony Navarro, deposited in the bank. So either way, it doesn't matter, but it adds an air of professionalism to see that you have a company name. The next thing is accepting payments. You can accept checks via the bank, but how do you handle credit cards? You can go to square.com or get Square. Sorry about that. You can sign up to Square at getsquare.com and get a little widget that connects to your smartphone. Or you can go to PayPal and sign up to PayPal here and get a similar widget that connects to your smartphone. And you can now take credit cards. With Square, if you have an iPad, you can even get the Square Register application. And that is a similar app to the one I told you about earlier, that you can set up a menu and say, okay, a website, that'll cost you X. You want podcasting, that'll cost you extra. You want this, you'll cost you extra, bing, and you have a total. And then they just swipe their credit card. I am amazed at the people I'll sit in front of, and they'll agree to a price, and I'll just tell them to swipe their card, and they're like, this is so cool. And they don't just only love the fact that I'm going to build them a website, they love paying me because it's cool to pay someone on their mobile phone. Now, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, this may not be so cool, but right now we can take advantage of that little thing. So we're talking about a business entity name, setting up a business bank account, setting up some kind of payment system to be professional and accept multiple forms of payment. What are we talking about? We're talking about treating your business like a business. So on the outside, whether it's your logo, whether it's your branding, whether it's your personal website, a professional website, you want people to know you're in business. And like any business, personally, what do you have to do to make any business succeed? What do businesses in the real world do, in the brick and mortar world do? Well, they have office hours. So you're going to need to set office hours. You might be doing this as a part-time business. It doesn't mean it's a spare time business, because we know if we do things in our spare time, it never gets done. And I can go through a bunch of personal examples, and I can go through a bunch of professional examples. When you treat your business like a business, Every hour that you set aside as a work hour is a work hour. Now, some people, I don't know if you've seen the movie with Sylvester Stallone. He played a trucker, and this trucker, every time he stopped in certain places, there was some kind of arm wrestling competition. And every time he stopped off at this arm wrestling competition, he talked about, he would turn his hat from the front and he'd turn the brim over to the back. And it was like turning on a switch and he became a machine. So if you're in the corporate world, you put on a suit and tie and shoes, your gold watch, your cufflinks, poof, you're now in the office. You're an office worker. When you're at home, that doesn't always happen. So you might want to even dress the part. You might want to set a certain amount of work attire for even your at-home work. Now, for myself personally, again, it's just a simple psychological trick. I have a monogrammed WP Dojo polo, so it's a black polo with the WP Dojo. You might have seen it on some of my videos. When I wear that shirt, I'm on. I know I'm doing web development work. I know I'm developing training. I know I'm writing content. And when I take the shirt off, I'm me again. It's like it's some kind of thing. So you might want to even look at doing work attire. You also have a work location. If you're working from home, it may not be the most conducive environment. If you've got 4 kids, or you live in a neighborhood where a lot of construction's going on, or this or that, it might be difficult. So you might even want to consider getting a remote office. Now, for web design, it's really not feasible. You can just find some work location, a spare room, a closet even. Do a web search for small offices or innovative home offices, and you'll find some amazing ways people got creative putting their office under a set of stairs or in a closet or in a nook in the kitchen. Whatever it is, you need a work location that you can focus. Because again, web design is a creative endeavor. So you need somewhere that you can focus. And getting interrupted all the time is not going to work. So your work hours need to be blocks, like 4 hours at a time, 2 hours at a time, 90 minutes at a time. Because it takes time for your brain to ramp up and say, what do I need to do? And then realize, okay, I got 30 minutes left, and you're ramping down and making the phone calls and doing everything you need to do. So again, getting onto the topic of phone now, is you might want to also set phone hours. One option you can do is get a free phone number from a service like Google Voice. And every time a call comes in, you can tell if it's a web design client or not, or if you have caller ID. But if you have enough clients, you might forget who's who and all that, or they might call from another location. If you give all your clients a Google Voice number, so when your phone rings and you see it's Google Voice, you know it's a professional call. And if you have certain phone hours, you tell all your clients, all right, Monday through Thursday between 10 and 2, I'm available. Friday, I'm available from 12 to 5. And outside of that, it goes to voicemail. So again, you're acting professional. And you can even say this on the recording. Hi, my name is John Doe, and I'm not on the phone. Here's my hours. It just adds, again, another level of professionalism that businesses love to do, or business people love to see in other business people. Google Voice is free. Skype is free. Skype also has the paid calling service. Grasshopper is another one. So there's other ways you can take advantage of that. And again, it's not something you have to do all right off at the bat. When you reach a certain level, again, just like you look at what tools you want to buy for your website business, these are similar tools, work business tools that you'll want to get at a certain time. So now, you're a professional. You're a business person. What do business people do amongst other business people? They network. So you're going to want to find other like-minded networking people, or in this case, web development people, and start talking web development talk. So if you're a doctor, you hang out with doctors and you talk doctor stuff. If you're a web developer, you hang out with other web developers and talk web development stuff. And again, one of the concepts of the WP Dojo is that everyone's a teacher and a student. So when you get together, you put a bunch of these people in a room, it's amazing. And you start bouncing ideas off of each other, and just in a social setting even, there's going to be a dynamic that we're like, wow, we really all are professionals. So where do you find these folks? Number one, you can go to meetup.com. I actually host a meetup group of website developers, of WordPress users in the Charlotte area here in North Carolina. And I go to one in Raleigh, and I go to one in South Charlotte, a ways out. It's worth my time to network with other like-minded people. Another thing you can do is just find other professionals like Toastmasters or a Leads Club, because what you'll do is you'll find, well, these people are not necessarily other web developers, but they're other professionals, and professionals love to use other professionals' services. I belong to a networking group here that meets at a place called the Wine Cellar. So we enjoy a glass of wine and we talk amongst each other and we pass leads along, and we've generated tens of thousands of business amongst each other with our mutual skills. So we have a roofer. Hey, I need a roof replaced. He comes in and fixes it. Hey, I need a website. They call on me. Hey, we need a dentist. Someone's a dentist. So you'll start being, again, known as the go-to person in your community. And on the expanded side of the community, look at joining the Chamber of Commerce. I actually just joined the Chamber of Commerce in my city, my town, not too long ago, primarily for their conference room, because my meetup.com professional group was growing so large, I couldn't meet in the location I was using, as well as the fact that after hours they shut the air conditioner off and it became really, really hot. So I joined the Chamber of Commerce, but now I have a network of almost 500 other professionals who know I'm a web designer. So very easy thing to do. But one of the key things is joining a diligent group of peers who can hold you accountable. Now, you don't have to directly have a peer group like, hi, my name's Anthony, and I'd like to, here, John, good to meet you. I want you to hold me accountable. I want you to talk to me every month. And we don't need to do that. If you're going to be a professional and act professional, and you hang out with other professionals, you don't want to be there and know in your heart you're a liar. So you're going to be the professional amongst these other self-entrepreneurial, self-motivated professionals, these diligent group of others who know you and who will learn to know you and help hold you up. And this can be online or it could be in person. The WordPress Dojo, as a community of fellow web developers, we want to hold each other accountable. Say, hey, how's this going? How about I have a need with a client. I have a question. We help hold each other up. You might want to look at a life coach, a third party who doesn't know you, who doesn't care about hurting your feelings, who'll tell you the truth when you need to hear it. Look, dude, straighten up and get your billing done. No sense having customers if you don't build them, right? Well, a life coach might be just the kick in the butt you need to make sure you treat your business like a business. And another thing is product communities. Just as WordPress has its own community of just learning WordPress and the core aspects of WordPress, iThemes has its own community of people using all the iThemes products like Builder and Plugin Buddy and Backup Buddy and all that. Wishlist member, if you have a member-based website and are using the Wishlist product, there's another community of people. So just like the WordPress Dojo, where website developers in general get together to help improve all of their skills, there are specific communities that we can all hold each other accountable. Again, if we treat our business like a business, we're going to be hanging out with people in our industry to help us grow our businesses together. All right, so we're getting to the little bit of the end here. What's holding us back? There's an aspect of the fear factor. Again, web development is not an industry you say, well, I don't know enough. I don't have the skills. It's like if you watch the one video, how to install WordPress from A to Z, available on the WordPress Dojo, you know enough to install a website that, just like those examples we shown earlier in the beginning of the presentation, people with horrible websites would love to do business with you. So what is fear? And you might have heard of the token thing, false evidence appearing real. Oh, these people aren't going to like me. They're going to love you. These people don't need me. They got a website. Yeah, but their website doesn't work. They need you. There's a book called Tribes by this author, Seth Godin, and he says, the world needs leaders. We're waiting for you. We need you. The world needs compassionate, talented web developers to get out there into the business and help people. These people need our help. If you looked at some of those websites, if you came on late, go watch the recording tomorrow when I post this recording, or just do a Google search. You will find some awful websites out there. They need our help. So there's nothing to fear. These people want to talk to us. So there's no reason to say, I don't have enough business, because there's enough business out there to find. So what is the truth? We have an important and needed, a valuable skill set that people will pay for these skills. Anyone, I believe, can be a web developer, simply because, not to say that the bar is so low, but the fact that the harvest is so ripe. People will pay for our skills. Speaking of harvests, the labor deserves their wages. We will offer a service. People will gladly pay us. Now, here's one thing I didn't go into. Sometimes they pay us in services. I have this kind of joke. When I first moved to this area and people started to know me, they knew I did computer work, and so everyone wanted me to fix their computer. I say, you know what? I work for food, so you schedule a night where we'll get together with my wife and myself, and then you and your wife, and we'll get together. So I work for food. I'll be happy to fix your computer problem, and they were happy to have me in their home because they needed a service, and I wanted their fellowship. So the labor deserves their wages. They're happy to do that. And the other thing is, others are interested in your success. As a community of fellow entrepreneurs, of fellow web developers, we want our industry to succeed and we want to hang out with successful people. So we want to move our businesses forward. And not only are others interested in your success, others, like myself, believe in you. I believe if you're on this call, I believe if you suffered through an hour of listening to me babble along to say that you can do it. I'm not giving a rah-rah speech. I'm saying, here's the facts. Here's an industry that has a vacuum that needs us to service them. And kind of like, the Borg in Star Trek, life as you know it is over. You will service us. You know what? Our careers as we know it are over. Because companies don't care about keeping us on board. They'll fire us in a heartbeat. My wife's been hired and fired from IBM 4 times because they wanted to make quarterly numbers. They fire a bunch of employees and they realize, they need to get work done. So they hire a bunch of employees back. So what happens here is we're in an industry where we want to see everyone succeed and help them out. So we believe in each other. And we believe we all can do it because the harvest is ripe and people are willing to pay for these services. If they weren't willing to pay for the services, there'd be no market. But we have a market out there of people ready to hand us money to do them a service that they're just ignorant about. Now, not ignorant in the lack of ability, just like I'm ignorant in nuclear physics. I'm not a dumb guy, but I'm not a nuclear physicist. Just like 2 weeks ago, I was ignorant of how to repair the hard-to-plank siding on my house. I am no longer ignorant because I saw someone do that. Likewise here, you're not going to be ignorant in web design. You're no longer going to be ignorant in how to run a web design business. We're here at the WordPress Dojo to build everyone up, to teach and to learn. And so I do believe in you. I believe in all of us. And you know why? Because I did it myself. I knew nothing about web design 4 years ago. And I knew nothing about WordPress 4 years ago. And now I do. Now I'm teaching people all around the world how to build WordPress websites. And it's a lot of fun. So when you start building these clients up, who's awesome? It's one of my favorite shots. You're awesome. Again, you guys are awesome for holding on for a whole hour listening to me talk, and we're right on time. So I'm very glad to see this presentation lasted exactly 1 hour because I got started about 2 minutes after 8 and it is 2 minutes after 9. I wanted to thank everyone for listening to me, and I want to know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to stay as long as anyone has any questions on the chat at thewpdojo.com/chat. Please leave a comment below the post and go ahead and like or tweet or pin or tell a friend. Do whatever you need to do to let people know, hey, I just had a great time learning about becoming a web designer, and share the web foo. That's all what we're about, making strong web foo. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. My name is Anthony Navarro, and I will see you in the chat room. I will see you in the forums, in the comments, and I will see you at the next training at the WP Dojo. Have a great night.